I can't play too much of this because I've already got a brain tumour and this will literally grow the cancer in my head. G'day legends, I hope that you're all doing well. Now, I just recorded a full 25-minute video and I wasn't bloody recording, so I'm doing this all again. But I want to do something different today because realistically the news in Ukraine today, there's not much coming out. I've got some leads on some things, I've got some stuff set up, but there's not that much coming out. So I want to do something different because part of the video today was going to be reviewing Russia's new war recruitment ad, the Real Man ad, as it's being sort of released in the media as well. And I thought, let's look over this and let's look over some other military recruitment ads because there's some gems and there's some real trash in amongst them as well. I always put military ads alike Red Bull. You know, the military does the coolest shit. Red Bull does the coolest shit, but sometimes have the worst ads ever. Like, there's SF units, there's all this fighter jets. How can you make a bad ad? Like Red Bull, you have Formula One cars, planes, you're sending shit into space, you got wingsuiters, and you make a stick figure drawing that I could do that you probably paid $5 million for. So I don't know. So we're going to go over a few of these. We're going to go over a Russian one, a Ukrainian one. We're going to go over the Australian one that actually got me before I spent, years and years in the military. And we're going to go over heaps of stuff. So let's jump into it and have a look. So let's start at the Russian one. So the Russian one starts here and it starts with a guy in a supermarket with his machine gun. And I've got this actually translated across. So this guy turns out to be a security guard and it says, "Did you dream to become a defender?" And then, marching along, this guy doing some heavy bench press here with the soldier looking over him. So let's just step back a little bit. So this bench press here, I'm thinking is the bar and two 2.5 kilo plates. So we're talking 25 kilos. This is currently me in the gym. Whoever is, watching my gym updates, holy shit, I'm really struggling at the moment. But guy looking over him and then turns into the most jacked, most Russian looking guy I've ever seen in my life. But then this says, "Is it really where your strength lies?" And then the same guy marching along, then in this taxi, the soldier driving, but he's just an average civilian that says, "Is this the path you wanted to choose?" And you'll see throughout this ad, this almost like shaming you into joining the military in some aspect. And then these guys, heavy staring, tough looking guys, and then helmets on, and then have obviously joined the Russian military from here. And then this says, "You're a man." And then at the end it goes, "Be it." And, the characters we've seen throughout this, then you're a man, be it in this. And, to be honest, this is actually a pretty good army recruitment ad. Now, it is being reported that it is shaming men into the army. And, yeah, that's true. But a lot of military, propaganda around getting guys into the military, that's somewhat how a lot of this lies. And I actually think that this is a reasonable ad compared to some of the other ones that we have seen from Russia, the States, Australia. Pretty fucking good. So let's watch a Ukrainian one, then we'll look over the Wagner group and another Russian song as well. What have I done here? Pulled out another tab. So this Ukrainian one is 8 years old, so right around Crimea, when Crimea got annexed. So, this is a little bit old, but this is the most modern one at the moment. And this is a pretty good one. And, I'm a father, I'm a younger brother. Sort of going over, you're like, that these are, everyday guys like you or I, who have joined up to defend.
Я скоро удружусь. Я фанат Шахтера.
But you notice too that, throughout these, you'll see that these are just average guys. And this is, they have to appeal to the 90%. But you'll also see that these appeal mostly to young men. Yes, some recruit to, females as well. But the majority is recruiting to young men because the majority of fighting forces are young men, even in a very progressive country like Australia. Yeah, Australia does heavy recruiting to females, but also, if you look at the actual numbers of combat troops in Australia, it would be high 90% are still young males. And the foreman, programmer. And then here, a little bit of mateship, best man at the wedding and delivering food to the lads.
Дядя Юра, таксист. Я вчитель фізкультури.
Я студент-геолог.
And common theme of mateship throughout as well.
Я кращий друг зі школи. Я сусід, який завжди стукає по батареї.
I'm the neighbour who always bangs on the radiator.
Я єдиний син.
None of us were born for war, but we're here to protect their freedom. I think, and this is, I guess, pessimistic of me and a bit sad, if these guys are actually soldiers throughout this ad, which they probably are, if any of these guys have actually been killed in this current conflict. But the Ukrainian one, also pretty good ad. Now, what we're going to do is look at some, I guess, realistic ads that I think as a soldier, guy spent a fair bit of time, what is realistically the military like? And I've pulled out a few of these, and this one is a fucking classic.
What are you doing?
What am I doing? I'm moving sandbags 15 feet that way. That's what I'm doing.
Why?
Does it look like I know?
I know it's an American soldier, but that is I don't care what you could be from the Chinese military, Indian military, Yanks, Canadians, whatever. That is exactly what the infantry is fucking like. And also this video, so underappreciated. This came out while I was at basic training. Well, at least it got posted on the internet then. I think it's a few years before myself. But of Australian soldiers, I believe at Singleton, which is the infantry training area of the Australian Army. And this is underappreciated. I think maybe it's not as funny to you guys, but if you're a soldier, you have seen so much shit like this happen to like lads, and just the whip on this fucking tree on the juggernaut bitch. The shit coming down on him after is fucking brilliant. So this is like the realistic expectation of the military. This is actually what it's like, and this one is one. Then we'll step into some more Russian ones as well. This is like the most Australian thing in the world. Lads walking behind a lav and as lav. This realistically is a very, very dangerous situation because, of course, the rear view on an armoured vehicle is fucking literally zero. But the oi you fuckhead has to be like, I would straight up vote for that being on like the Australian like currency, because that is more iconically Australian line than anything else. Straight up section commander just screaming. But let's have a look at the Wagner Group ad and then the loosest ad, I think, of the bunch, which is the Russian sort of nuclear warhead song. And we'll look at a few songs through this as well. So the Wagner ad goes in line with a lot of the sort of propaganda we see coming from Russia as well. Now, I should say that this ad, I don't actually know how real this is, but let's just say that it is somewhat real. Like, I have no idea, but it is sort of touching into that, that Russia is a bastion of like traditional values. That's sort of what it's pushing into, and a lot of the propaganda pushes into that. And there's been a lot of Westerners go and join the Russian Wagner Group or or Russian forces because that's how they feel. They don't identify with where their country is headed, and they're going that, and that's where the propaganda and ads like this are propaganda of some sort, and that's why these are leaning into this whole sort of "Make America Great Again" theme.
Giving your best years in the army, you dreamed of defeating evil. You dreamed of doing much to make America great again.
There drops the mega.
But in reality, you saw criminal others, the destruction of nations, the death of civilians, and all for the will of a bunch of families who thought they were earthly gods.
So this is another thing we see a lot too, is the justification of Russia's invasion because of America's invasion. Now, it was one of the Russian foreign ministers, I'll find out exactly who it was, and I'll get the quote wrong, but was like, if you think you care about Ukrainians, just imagine that Russia was America and that Ukrainians were Middle Eastern, and suddenly you won't care. And although, using that as justification is complete horseshit, the underlying point of these people who didn't care when it was Iraq or it was one of these other countries has some grounding in it as well. That, there was people that stood up against that war, but was it in the same scale? Absolutely not. When you see these other tragedies. And what I think is like, well, no, you can't justify any of this. We can't justify our actions, and you can't use that to justify yours. But it is one of the things that they will lean
under
into.
the row, and who would be destroyed.
Marines, soldiers, and then we'll see what I was talking about before, this sort of like anti-wokeism. And you might be able to see through this as just propaganda, but you need to remember there are people that are, not only do they not like woke, they are anti that, they are on the complete other side of this. So, this sort of stuff appeals that, well, this is not what America is, this doesn't stand for that. And they're sort of going, well, we don't, come and join us. So, the protests, I think this is January 6th,
You began to realize that this is the side of
Black
evil.
Lives Matter, I'm guessing.
This is not
stuff.
the America the founding fathers dreamed of.
And this isn't your
It
America.
has become the focus of the evil that is destroying the whole world. And today,
And then we see, of course, they chuck in a swastika here, and then they have glimpses of Ukrainian flags,
this
as
evil
of battalion
is
stuff.
Russia.
And then this is Russia. And basically giving the idea that Russia doesn't stand for that. Russia stands for what your country sort of used to, which, you can read between the lines on this, but that's where these
the
ads are
patriot
going.
of the very future great America, join the ranks of the warriors of Russia. Help defeat evil, or it will be too late for everyone.
And of course ends in a nuclear warhead going off and tearing through a city, which you'll see in a second. Russia love to chuck that stuff out. But you might just think this is silly. You might just think, oh, who couldn't see through that? People don't. I, have had some level of contact with people who have hit me up with, well, some with death threats, some with, like blah, whatever, like even some with like, oh, I like your content, who are serving in things like Wagner Group, who were like, I used to be in the Australian military, I used to be in the American military. Now, none of them will interview with me because, they probably already have, the intelligence agents probably don't know who they are, but they're scared of that stuff. But, people fall for this stuff and people join up. And this one is the first of two songs we're going to see. And this is loose. I pulled this off TikTok of all bloody things, so the Chinese are on me. But the Russian military singing about nuclear weapons. So here we go. Bit of a banger, to be honest. And this is actually better than the next song. Scatter enemies in the dust in an instant. Nuclear weapons singing in front of nukes. If this is fake, massive production. Sarmat is a nuclear weapon of the Russian military. They're like, look at this shit. Uniform, this guy's wearing a camo jacket. On the guitar, it's like the Wish.com of Bono. Or is it a leather jacket? It's even worse if it's a leather jacket. It's a little bit like Rammstein, though, is you don't know any of the words, so you're like, oh, this is catchy. And then imagine if you then translate it, oh shit. Maps showing where the rockets are going. See, shit is wild. See, what I reckon we should do is we should start like a bit of a beef with these like songs, because like rappers, he'd have like Ice Cube, having a go at this bloke. That's what shit. We should do that, but like we should do it just to like trigger up like all social media, because it would just be fucking funny. So I reckon we get like Lizzo, because I don't think anyone would annoy people as much as Lizzo doing a song in front of American like ICBM, ballistic nuclear weapon, doing like a clapback at Russia. Like, say what you want about Lizzo, can make a fucking banger and would trigger the fuck out of 50% of people online love it, 50% fucking hate it. And it would be so funny to see then what came back from the Russian side in this, like, we just have like a dance off almost, but like a sing off. That would be fucking wild. Now, what is the ad that got Willie into the army? Well, this is often known as the Army Rise ad. Now, this was posted on YouTube 11 years ago, and it's probably around that old, I would believe. So I don't know if I can actually play this song as the copyright on it, but you know, the rising sun in the beginning, lads in black and white. And this leans heavily into, like, you know, Australia, sort of one thing that the Australian military is known for is mateship, and leaning into that heavily, but going through the ages of the military. So, you know, Kokoda Trail, very infamous for the Australian Army. And then we'll just skip forward a little bit. So then we're getting into Vietnam, and then we'll come forward a little bit more because that is very long. But I remember being a kid. Like 14, 15, 16, watching this on telly. Like, that's what I want to fucking do. And then here we see Iraq, these camos here. This is DPDU. A lot of people call it pajamas. Was the very iconic camouflage of that time. And this is just a off colour of the DPCU, which you probably can't see my hat in the background there, but that is traditional, like, Australian DPCU. Very recognisable camo. Black Hawk helicopter, helping guys out. Australian LAV here, very classic Australian vehicle too. You'll see that these ads of the Australian military are less like gun-ho than like the American ones, and that's just a representation of, I guess, the wider people, you know, doing humanitarian work, and then, you know, frontline soldiers in Baghdad, and, you know, artillery. Remember all these scenes so well. Being a kid, just like, I want to do this shit. This is before the days of like the Bushmasters, so you've got Land Rovers, Aslavs, Unimogs in the back. Unimog, anyone who's like a truck fan, a military truck fan, it's a Land Rover. Unimog, Mercedes, like Daimler, Unimog, they will go anywhere. Do you think you've got a decent four-wheel drive? Unimog will go anywhere and further than anything. And then I don't even know if this has any footage of like Afghanistan. It might be too even old for that. I'm not really sure how old this ad actually was, but this is bringing back like good memories. And then, you know, Army Rise, that was like, fuck yeah, I'm getting in. But Australia has had some wild ads as well, and I think probably the worst one is the Sisters in Arms on the left. And I can't play too much of this because I've already got a brain tumour, and this will literally grow the cancer in my head. This actually wasn't sanctioned or released by the Australian Army. This was actually by the War Memorial, which I don't know if that's better or worse, and made, I actually think, an absolute mockery of females in the Army, in defence as a whole. You know, some of the best people I've worked with, best soldiers in the Army, were female soldiers. You know, people will, you know, be sexist against whatever, but it is true. Some fantastic female soldiers. And, you know, the representation is still very low of females in defence, you know, maybe creeping up, but that's significantly Air Force, Navy. The Army is still fairly low. And combat corps, especially the infantry, is low in probably under 10 at some points. So even when I got into the military, females were not allowed to join combat corps. That has been lifted. But this song, I actually think, stepped that back and made, and a lot of female soldiers I've talked to were like, they are literally like, by trying to do something, a good thing like this woke crap, is actually making a mockery of my service, and actually having outside of the military looking in going, well, this is a piss take, and not supporting like the females in. So let's jump in.
I wear my medals, I wear my medals, I wear my medals on the left.
That first opening is so iconic that I remember at like promotional parades. So, you know, someone's getting promoted to a corporal or whatever. You just hear someone on their phone in the background, just like that song just kick up. You'd be like, oh no. I think the best part of this song, other than the announcement of guitar before they do the guitar solo, is about the Abrams tank. Now, I actually think when the US released that they were going to send Abrams vehicles to Ukraine to fight Russia, we should have clipped out this 15 seconds and put that with it just for the online space of trolling. Wait, I've gone too far in this. Here we go. Sorry.
The battlefield in the mountain, finding
again, we have so much cool shit. Like, tanks are fucking awesome. The footage is awesome, but what is this? And this goes for 3 minutes 40. This gets worse. Nope. HMAS Adelaide. I'm from Adelaide.
Launched into a storm, choppers rose into the dawn. We took that whaler by surprise. The Navy is a
There's the ending.
I proudly wear my medals on the left. I serve with pride, and because they're mine, I wear my medals on the left. I proudly wear my
Just taking the piss. Like it seems like something fake, but this is legit. I thought, like, this is a good idea. You know, this is a good idea for women in defense, and did the fucking opposite.
I'm an officer cadet. I'm
I can't. I'm fucking, for my own health, I need to fucking avoid that. But we're going to step into probably, the US has some fucking clangers. Like, they've got some of the best and some of the worst. Now, this one, what's this? 4.8 million views, 14,000 likes. So you know it's not going to be brilliant. And this caused a big stir. Here we go. And as you'll see, this is what I call the Netflix Disney effect. That it's got like the perfect mix of like race and gender in it. It's absolutely that perfect mix that we see Netflix, Disney actually doing. But if you're in the military, no one gives a fuck. Like, I remember like being in the army and being like, the army's the least racist place on earth because we treat everyone like shit. But it doesn't get better from here. And this is why this became like a big, like, people taking the piss. Here we go.
Who operates your nation's Patriot missile defense.
The Patriot missile defense, fucking awesome system, incredibly effective, incredibly difficult to use as well. But they actually just have been now being used in Ukraine. Now, I don't actually know if a physical rocket has actually been fired or anything yet, but the training's done, the systems moved in, and they've been placed in, you know, tactical areas as well. So that's a news update.
Systems.
So here we go.
In California,
Of course, it begins in California, Santa Monica Beach.
with a little girl raised by two moms.
And at this point, 99% of the target audience of what you're trying to recruit have changed channels or clicked off the ad. I'd love like some stats on like how many people from X ad joined the military. So we spent 10 million on this ad and got X amount of recruits. So these are so expensive. Like, you know, we spent 10 million on this ad and got 3 people and caused 80 to leave.
Although I had a fairly played violin, I like to think I've
This to me is
been defending freedom.
this is the shit that I hate, is like defending, like, I'm all about people's right to protest, right to stand for things, and it's important, and I believe that doing it for what you really stand for is important. You should have the right to do that. But don't try and fucking compare marching for whatever, like, political thing is defending freedom the way that, you know, these fucking lads at the beginning marched into fucking hell on Gallipoli for defending fucking freedom.
Early age.
So
To marry my other mom. Top of my class. Already
Yeah,
full of
we
up.
can't.
But what had I
we can't do this. But you can read between the lines of, you know, what I think of this ad. But I actually think that this turns away more good people than it brings in. I think it makes a piss take, like, you know, and this is like with these forced, like, these women wear my medals on the left. All the female soldiers I served with were like, that makes a mockery of my fucking career. It doesn't excel anyone. It makes me want to fucking leave. Now, the other best, well, a good one from America, where is it? We have it here. This is all right, but this is, I think, the most American one. Now, if you're an American, you probably won't get this because your telly is just over the fucking top, like your television. So when we have like a car ad in Australia, it's like car driving down the road, it looks good in front of a building. There's a couple of statistics about it. It goes this miles per gallon, or, you know, per 100 kilometers, because I don't know gallons or miles, you know, not divisional by 10. But when you see an American ad for like a Dodge Ram, it's like, yeah, it's driving out of a volcano with a dragon behind it, and you're like, what the fuck's going on? But this ad is a little bit like that. The future's threatened, you know, soldiers. But this is actually pretty cool. But this is big budget shit. Maybe not as big budget as standing in front of Samart fucking nuclear weapons like the Ruskies one, but also pretty fucking. It's actually pretty good. World collapsing, things going in. Soldiers out there.
In the
midst of an uncertain
birds
and
go up and they
evolving
turn into
world,
drones. You know,
the
future
need for
future
Marines
warfare.
to defeat these shifting threats is critical.
So, you know, showing
Because the
some
need-
cool stuff in the future. You know, guys out in the snow operating, you know, future weapon systems. And I don't think it, HIMARS system, I don't think it's as effective as some others, but again, pretty good. And I'm not an American lad who, you know, I might be attracted to different things. But all in all, pretty fucking cool lad. F-35, dropping
there are
bombs,
battles to
doing
win
some cool
for
shit.
America's
But
future,
again, why is this
there is
CGI?
one
Like,
com-
I don't get why they would spend so much money making CGI when you could just do it. Like, you've got that much footage of F-35s, of all this stuff. Like, just awesome. Now, I think the king of recruitment ads, for me, is the UK. Now, firstly, anyone who's played Call of Duty knows that the British accent in the military is the coolest thing ever. Like, you know, it's badass. And the Royal Marines, the Navy recruitment, the Royal Marines, go do yourself a favor, click off this video, go search Royal Marines. They have some of the best modern footage of Royal Marine commandos, of any soldiers anywhere. Big production stuff. There's like one video of like downtown Dublin clearing like on an exercise. Fucking awesome. And this one is really good. So they come from the sea. I'm going to skip forward. There's these like bad guys. They feel like they're being watched.
They come from the sea.
We're one
A little bit like predatory.
Many follow.
They move in silence.
Like shadows. Wherever you run.
They will be there, watching, waiting.
It's pretty fucking scary, but I don't know if this was on telly or not. Guy just dreaming about this. I got a fucking jump scare in, not this time, but when I first watched this guy, the guy behind him, in the iconic Royal Marine berets.
They're your Royal Marines commandos.
I have a lot of friends who are like dear friends who are Royal Marine Commandos or were Royal Marine Commandos, because they're very easy within the Commonwealth, very easy to change militaries, British, Aussie, vice versa. So a lot of our sergeants and stuff were Royal Marine Commandos. I've served under at least 4 Royal Marine Commando sergeants and have some dear friends who are outside of that. What I don't get is how, like, I'm a beret wearer, like I wore a green beret for my entire career, but I don't get how they wear them the entire time, like on operations. Like, it feels like it would just fall off or be awfully uncomfortable. But again, awesome. Now, this is from the British Army, and I actually think that this is the best ads. They're driving along, classic Land Rovers, very British vehicle, great vehicle, got a puncture, come through, and then at the end, this lad gets out, and then everyone's done this to the mate, where they're pulling away, and like, you let him get in, then fucking drive off. But I actually think this, because, you know, this is called This Is Belonging. I actually think this is one of the best representations of, like, the military. It's a bit of banter, taking the piss, but you're still all mates in the end. Like, you're fucking savages, but you're still all taking the piss. Good mates. But, legends, that's it for me today. So, as always, if you'd like to support me, links below, but never feel obliged. Love you guys being here. Look after yourselves. I hope this wasn't too different from normal. If you're still here, maybe you enjoyed it, maybe you didn't. If you'd like to see more of this is very easy for me to do, rather than 5, 6, 7 hours of research, writing, you know, whatever, to pump out a 10-minute video. So, if you like it, let me know. If you don't, let me know as well. Look after yourselves. Have a great end of the week, and I'll speak to you tomorrow. So, bye-bye. I'll see you soon.